All right, we are most of the way across the bay, heading toward the Magothy River, and the winds are much higher than expected. We've started getting some gusts up above 20, so I put a reef in. Then they kind of went down after that, but now we've been getting a steady 15 or so knots, which is pushing us above 5 knots over the ground, and so doing pretty good. We're about probably half an hour, 45 minutes or so from the mouth of the Magothy. And we're going to try to find or pull into Deep Creek in Magothy River and go to a marina there to get a pump out. They don't have diesel. We don't really need diesel, but we do need to get pumped out, which we could not do this morning at Gratitude. So we'll try to do it here and then probably find a place to anchor in Deep Creek of the Magothy. All right, so we are across the bay, right at the mouth of the Magothy. Our winds have died down now. We had good winds all the way across, up to 20 plus, finally dying down to like a consistent 15 or so. So I had that reef in the main from when we had the 20 plus. Probably didn't need it, but because it never went above that. And now we're getting ready to fire up the engine so we can get through this entrance to the Magothy, because the winds have died down to like 6 knots or so, and we're going to have to kind of turn into the wind to get through the channel. So we'll fire up the engine to do that, and then once we're inside there, we're going to look for Back Creek or Deep Creek, which is just on the inside, on the left-hand side of the Magothy River as we go in. And once you get into the Magothy, it widens out. There's one small narrow channel to get in, but then it widens out a lot once you're in there. We were here the other day but we anchored over by Gibson Island, which is over there, and so we were behind that. And today we'll be completely on the other side, somewhere over on that side over there. All right, video update. Oh, we got some wind. Okay, so we just tried to go to this marina and Deep Creek on the Magothy called Trade Winds or something like that, and there we can't go there. Like, they don't sell diesel for one, and their pump out is way up at the front of the marina, and we can't get our boat up there. It's just too close, too shallow, and too tight. So
it's a straight in too.
We tried next to think of going to Magothy Marina, which is an hour further up the Magothy River. But we called them, luckily we called them in advance, and their pump out is not working, which is the main thing we really wanted to do, because we don't really need diesel, but we could, get some. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to go anchor where we were before, behind Dobbins Island and by Gibson Island, and then we'll just not pump out, and then tomorrow we'll try to head back in towards Whitehall Bay, anchor there, and then the next day we'll headed back to Annapolis. So that's kind of what our plan is right now. We're just not going to pump out. We're at right about just 2/3 full, I think, on the holding tank. So we'll have to go with that and see what happens. Maybe pee overboard for now, but that's where we are. And since the wind is still good, 10 knots or so, we're just sailing across Magothy to get back to get to where the island is, and that's where we're headed now. Day 5, and we're back at our anchorage from day 1, the night or the first time out. We're back at ended up coming in between Gibson Island and Dobbins Island, And now we're back here at this Anchorage in a slightly different spot, a little closer in than we were last time. The winds are, it's beautiful out right now. It's not super hot. It's the clouds mostly have cleared from this morning. The winds have died down a lot, at least behind the island where we are. So the spot's beautiful, but we didn't get a pump out, so we have to be careful over the next couple days about how much water we put down the head. So yeah, that's about it for now. We're going to hang out here for the night and try to get up tomorrow. What? Oh, the engine. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah. So the engine, I went to start the engine back up again, and for some reason the cooling water wasn't coming out the back. So I don't know what it was. So we stopped the engine, and we were still kind of sailing really slow into the Anchorage. So Lynn kept us moving. I went down below, cleared out the strainer, and it didn't have a lot in it. It had some like weeds and stuff in there, but went back, started it again, and it started and water came out fine. So maybe it was just the weeds in there in the wrong spot or something. Second thing that happened actually when we were out sailing is this boat has what's called a Dutchman flaking system for the mainsail, and the two lines on that thing broke when I was putting in the reef. So one of them I noticed was frayed a while back, and I was thinking about replacing them, but then I kind of don't want to use them anymore. I want to switch to a stack pack, but that's going to require some additional money and some sewing and stuff like that. So I don't know what I'm going to do right now. It's harder to flake the mainsail when it comes down. I might see if there's enough filament in there that I can just patch it back up. But I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I have to think about it. Okay, so here we are up at the main sail, and there's a sail. Pardon the filthiness of the sail. It was like this when we got it, and I haven't taken it down to clean it, mainly because this Dutchman thing that's in here. But this is what it is. So this little thing right here goes through the sail, and there's a piece of monofilament line that runs through this, and then all the way up to this line on the backstay. So where those two little bump things are, one there and one there, it attaches to this monofilament. And this goes back and forth between each side of the sail. So when you let the sail down, it follows along that monofilament and automatically ends up stacked and nice and flaked like this. But both of those broke when I reefed, so it probably has something to do with the reefing that I was doing. And what happens instead is when the sail comes down, this entire thing just flops down here. So I had to manually get it tied up there, and we'll try to figure out what our solution to that is at another time. And for dinner tonight, Italian quesadillas. They didn't have any flatbreads, so we used some tortillas and pizza ingredients for quesadillas, Italian style. All right, we are on day 6 of the trip, and we're right now, it's the morning. We're anchored off Gibson Island and Dobbins Island. Getting ready to head out. There's a little bit of a breeze, not much wind today though, so I'm going to try to do as much sailing as possible in light winds. We're not really in a hurry to get anywhere, so we're going to head back toward Annapolis. Try to anchor in one of the creeks in Whitehall Bay, and then the following day we'll head back into Annapolis, back to the marina. So that is what's on the plan for today. No wind, and I think it's probably, what did I say it was, like 11 nautical miles? So about 11 nautical miles back to Whitehall Bay, 12 to Annapolis, I think, or 10 and 11, something like that. So if we're moving at 1 knot, a knot of speed, that's going to take us 10 hours to get there. and so I guess we'll probably, at that point we'll probably be motoring. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. out of the Anchorage and motoring toward the mouth of the Magothy. And one thing that has really come in handy on this trip that we've used probably more than ever is the autopilot, especially when you're motoring, because then you can kind of just set it where you want to go, and as long as you keep a good watch of what's around you, you can kind of hands off the wheel and take care of other things or whatever. But it's a lot better than hand steering, which is what we normally do. Haven't really used it much in when we sailed a lot yesterday. We actually didn't have the autopilot on. It does consume battery though, so when the engine's running, it's not a problem because we're charging the batteries. We only have the one solar panel. As far as the solar panel, how that has worked out, the first few days of the trip it worked out well. It's kind of like having a harder time keeping up with the demand of the refrigerator, so I've been turning the refrigerator off occasionally. Last year on the trip we didn't have the panel and I turned the refrigerator off like all the time, but this time we've been able to keep it on a lot more just because of the solar panel, but still not 100% of the time. So that's kind of where we are with the solar panel. I still would like to get 2 more to put above us on the Bimini up above, and I think 2 more 100-watt panels, that would go a long way in keeping everything running longer than we currently do. The sound of silence. The engine is off and we got the sails up. Not much wind, like about 5 knots or so coming to us. They look like they're kind of like I guess southeast winds, so we're close hauled, doing a little over a knot. 5 knots of wind. We're right outside the Magothy, heading right toward the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, and just kind of coasting along. Actually, knot and a half, not bad. Winds are supposed to pick up later today. Right now the time is 11:31, but I don't think they're supposed to pick up until 2 or later, so we'll see what happens with the winds. And they're supposed to change direction, but it's changing to south winds. Okay. We're supposed to have north winds today, or this morning, which would have been nice, but we'll take these, and if we get south winds, we'll be doing some tacking, but at least with heavy wind, it's easier to get moving and tack and do all that stuff, so hard to tack in light winds. But here we are, Chesapeake Bay, north of the Bay Bridge, headed for the bridge, headed for Whitehall Bay. Alright, we got the motor back on. We did a little bit of sailing very slowly, and then the winds dropped down to about 2 knots or so. So we were only doing about maybe a half a knot over ground. And we're approaching the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, which has a current that right now is coming toward us. So right now the current's somewhere about 1/3 to a half a knot. So if we're only going a half a knot forward and the current's going a half a knot against us, we're not going to go anywhere, and we'll probably be pushed on shore. I got the engine back up and pointing us directly toward the bridge. Okay, so we are entering Whitehall Bay right now under sail. We're going through the channel that takes you into Whitehall Bay. You can kind of see maybe off to there, Chesapeake Bay Bridge right out about there, right there. So we had to circle all the way around here, and we're heading into Whitehall Bay. I was going to go up this creek that is on the left side as you enter Whitehall Bay. It's where Cantler's Crab Shack or Cantler's Crab House or whatever it is, which is a famous Maryland crab cake place or crab place. And I thought about anchoring there, but the winds tonight look like they're going to be spinning around a lot, and there's not a lot of room there. It's not too bad, but I don't want to be spinning around in a tight spot tonight with supposedly gusty winds. So we're going to go into our regular Whitehall Bay Anchorage spot, which is kind of open to south winds, but we're supposed to get a mix of south rotating to north, so it shouldn't be too bad. I don't think they're going to be very bad winds anyway, but I think we'll anchor there for tonight. And then tonight and tomorrow, we'll get the boat ready to go back into the slip at the marina. We got to close this thing down here, the dinghy and the davits. So we got to deflate the dinghy and swing the davits back in so we can fit into our slip. And I think that's probably about it. Get cleaned up, and then we're going to go into the marina tomorrow, and we'll just spend the night there tomorrow at the marina, so we can get everything cleaned up and put back together, and then we can take showers and stuff there at the marina. So other than that, that's all we got on the agenda for today. We're going to grill out on the grill over there again for dinner, and some Beyond Burger and Beyond sausages. And here we are sailing through the entrance to Whitehall Bay. And we got the radio on. Doing about 2 knots with about 5 or 6 knots of wind behind us. So not too bad. Alright, so we got anchored here in Whitehall Bay. And it's a little breezy, which is nice because it's very hot right now today. It's supposed to be, I think, like 90 or something. So it's on the warm side today, but the breeze is keeping it cool. Got the grill fired up back there, right there. And getting ready to eat here soon. And that's all for today, I think. All right, so this is the Whitehall Bay Anchorage, and what we're looking at here is, you go over to this side. I don't know if you can make it out. You can probably make that out, but right over there, you see those 3 towers. Those are the 3 towers from the naval base, the Greenberry Point, I think it's called. That's part of the Naval Academy's naval base over there. And then if you go around that little point where the towers are, it goes around and then to that way. That takes you into Annapolis. And then if you go looking over this way, straight out there, like straight out kind of in this direction, that's where you get into this southern Chesapeake Bay. And right now I can just barely make out the Thomas Point Lighthouse, Thomas Point Shoal Lighthouse, which is way out there. And then right over here, this is where the land part of the bay starts for Whitehall Bay. Actually, there's a shoal that runs from here all the way over to the red marker that is right about over. That's right about there. So there's like a narrow entrance right in here to get into the bay, and then all of this here is a low, like 1-2 foot shoal, and so you can't come in through there. You have to go all the way down there to come in. Now, people don't like this because it's kind of open, especially to south winds, because we're kind of facing south right now. We got south winds. So it kind of leaves you open, and the Anchorage, you can kind of see it's a little bit rocky. It's not too bad right now. It should die down later on once the power boats stop going through here and the wind dies down. But it's not too bad of an anchorage. This is usually the anchorage we come to when we want to go, like, just spend a night out of Annapolis, because it's only like, you know, we can go out and sail around out there in the bay, come back in here and anchor somewhere in here. This is the furthest back we've ever anchored, I think. We're almost all the way back into the back of the bay, which there's this big house back there. And then all this here is the point that kind of sticks out and shields the bay. Now, right over in this vicinity, somewhere over here behind the trees, is the Chesapeake Bay Bridge and Route 50. So sometimes you can hear the traffic. You know, if it's quiet, the wind's died down, you can hear the traffic on the bridge. But it's not a bad overall Anchorage, especially just for a one-night thing. With the south winds, make it a little more difficult, but it's not too bad. It's manageable. We've seen worse. We've been out here once before. It was really bad. But tonight it doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. But that's Whitehall Bay, Anchorage, and sun getting ready to go down here another hour or so.